according to McKinsey report, fraud is already now considered the third biggest economy. Why is that?
Oh,
It's already we're losing 6.1 trillion, and the prediction for next year is around about 13 trillion. And that's amazing and that's phenomenal when it comes to all of this fraud happening. In fact, if I may say so, in 2024, it's already the most severe, and that's considered number one risk already in 2024 when it comes to misinformation, particularly deepfakes.
welcome and good day. We are at season 19, episode 10. And today, we're actually, I would say, privileged considering what's going on with artificial intelligence and all of the technology coming in too quickly. We have Ida Tiongson. She has a very strong background in governance, finance, finance, risk management, and technology. So our conversation will focus on that today. That said, though, I'd like Ida to maybe introduce herself to the viewers. Go ahead, Ida.
Sure, sure. Bit of a long list of background. Started as traditional banker, similar to some of your people that you have interviewed. Used to have senior positions, National Australia Bank, and then eventually Philippine National Bank. By the way, Eugene also came from Philippine National Bank. He's actually a very good friend as well. But having said that, back to me. I also sit in three publicly listed company as independent board director and also a multinational. I'm very into governance, fintech, risk management, blockchain for that matter, because it's governance by design. I'm also a lecturer of a top university in the Philippines. I also a lecturer in Institute of Corporate Directors, where we train board of directors. And I happen to be a vice chairperson of the ICD. I'm also a trustee of Women Biz. It's a group of women leaders here in the Philippines. There are about 100 of us by invitation to actually be part of it. Been blessed to be a trustee there for a couple of years already. I'm also a trustee of Fintech Alliance, and Fintech Alliance is the leading fintech association in the Philippines, and Blockchain Council of the Philippines. I'm also a trustee there. And finally, I'm also a chair of the governance at the Management Association of the Philippines. I chair the governance committee there as well. I don't believe I missed anything, but yeah, long list when it comes to fintech governance and risk management. Back to you, Paul.
Well, I'm absolutely enthused about this because our situation today maybe calls for that. And it's funny because it says about change, and for me, it's not really about change. When I say this, we all have to change, and we know this. For me, the bigger issue is just changing too fast. Okay, it's just going way too fast that we can't even capture it. And with that, there are obviously a lot of risks that come along with it. And let's start with something that's maybe a little more, how would I say, visible. Okay, or should I say invisible? Let's talk about deep fakes. Okay. Uh, when they first started coming out, I could see them. I could. But then the later ones, I'm saying, is this a deep fake or am I listening to something? What's going on? So when you talk about deep fakes, can you tell us a little more about? There are some very obvious dangers, but what are some of the maybe less obvious dangers or outcomes of deep fakes that maybe can be impacting us already?
Okay, well, first, Paul, I'd like to highlight first the beauty of technology. So, first, the beauty of technology these days, you may be wondering how I can do so many things, including, by the way, I'm a president of Opal. I actually forgot that. It's a multi-billion ING form company, and what we do is we turn around businesses. So, having said that, I can practically work anywhere in the world, and it's not distracted. And I'm able to do that with the advent of technology. And the technology is, of course, the usage of the cloud technology, the usage of the ERM, ERP, the usage of AI, of course. It's so easy these days to equip yourself and get more time to even relax and do a lot of things. I don't believe I need to explain the beauty of technology because it's at your fingertips and everyone can use it. It's fantastic how small businesses have turned around simply because of the aid of technology, chatbot, AI, e-commerce, and so on. Unfortunately, we are faced because of the fast technology. People sometimes cannot distinguish, or rather, are having difficulty in assessing what is right and what is wrong, so to speak. No, and it brings a lot of opening up the risk. Well, first and foremost, I do want to, sorry, bear with me. So I do want to, the typical risk, traditional risk, by the way, operational, reputation, IT. I actually highlighted this because there are quite the popular ones at the moment. Regulatory, political risk, what's happening in the US when it comes to the tariff, what's the net effect to the Philippines, what the net effect, particularly in China. Are we ready? Are they ready? What's the dominant effect of that? That I can talk about that for a whole hour, so to speak. But I do want to concentrate more on the ones that is of happening in of general interest. Of course, there's also the organizational and leadership risk because some of the leaders are not adept and they're not applying and they're not changing in line with the change of times. Of course, there's also compliance, there's also risk in doing your strategy and so on. So, back to your position or your comment on the emerging risk and the deep fakes and that. According to McKinsey report, fraud is already now considered the third biggest economy. Why is that?
Oh,
It's already we're losing 6.1 trillion, and the prediction for next year is around about 13 trillion. And that's amazing and that's phenomenal when it comes to all of this fraud happening. In fact, if I may say so, in 2024, it's already the most severe, and that's considered number one risk already in 2024 when it comes to misinformation, particularly deepfakes. So it's as an intro, that's fearful that these things are happening, and it's about time that we really look deeper into how to handle this.
let's continue talking about this. And I didn't realize that the impact would be really that large. Okay, and this was funny because I decided to chat with, and I was chatting with Claude AI. Okay, and he suggested that why don't we democratize technology, all the advances? And I said, that's a great idea. Unfortunately, when I look at the internet, I don't see democratization as a word. What I see here is dominance. I hear, we'll be the best. We'll be this. It's not about democratization. It's about dominance. And his answer was, sadly, historically, it's been proven that people with power tend to abuse their privilege. Okay, and always seem to be above the law. Okay, so I said, I said, okay, that's great. That's a true answer. I said, but I was laughing at it because I said, then what the hell? What's control for? Okay, so, but going back to this, when you say some of the, uh, I didn't realize really there's that big, 13 trillion. That's
Six
huge.
6.1 at the moment, but it's gonna come.
Right,
Predictions
projected.
about 13 trillion. Yes.
It's
Yeah.
scary. Go ahead.
You know, um I still want to go into fantastic technology.
Uh-huh.
And there's a reason for this. Is it okay if I share a slide? Is
Please,
it possible?
please,
Okay.
please.
All right. So, um, oh, I just wait a minute. I think I just missed.
You
Uh,
teleported yourself somewhere.
yes, yes. Anyway,
Okay.
that's all planned. Okay, cannot find the share. button for some reason again. Oh, there you go. Okay. I forgot to put the sound. Okay. There. I didn't teleport. It's just the same background. That's all.
Yeah.
I a word. Okay. So
早上好，大家好，我很高兴能作为你们的讲师参加这个主题的风险管理智力培训。在一个不断变化的世界中，持续教育是生存和发展的关键，尤其是在
Either
商
it's
业
in Chinese.
这个项目证明了终身学习。
it is in
在
Chinese.
赋能董事会
Yeah.
成员
Okay. Now, there's a reason for actually showing that. I don't speak Chinese, and I've done this, and I've been the speaker in many countries, Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, India, and so on. And I do start my intro using their own language, and I've been doing this for a couple of years already, and now it's becoming popular that you cannot even tell that I cannot speak it. Isn't that fantastic? I mean, you don't need a Miss Philippines interpreter. Isn't that fantastic? But what I really, really want to show is this. A world where technology lifts us to new heights, a utopia where innovation solves real problems and humanity thrives in harmony. Okay, I need to stop that one. You know, what I did, I did a TED talk, and I didn't like portion of my TED talk, so I changed 30 seconds out of that 10-minute TED talk. And I just needed to prove the power of technology and the need for the managing the risk. Do you think that was me talking?
Offhand, I would say yes. The challenge I have is that there's the delay here, okay,
Ah,
here on this platform. Plus, I believe that was also a delayed
okay.
cast, if you want to say. So I'm not too sure if the delay was caused by all of that or it was caused because you were overlapping something. I'm not sure. Okay, for me, if I
Okay.
looked at it, I would say I'm not sure. But
Okay, so
and this is just me talking with you for the short while, okay, and listening to you there. What I would be looking for is, how would you say, something that doesn't sound like you.
but did
Okay.
that sound like me? See,
No, it
this is
sounded
the
like you. It
yeah.
sounded like
This
you in terms of the words you use and everything. So it was fine.
yeah,
In my thinking, it was fine. But that's usually what I look for. If there's
yeah.
a sense of how this consistency, if you want to say, if it suddenly becomes inconsistency, like you make a slight mispronunciation of a word that you didn't mispronounce before, I said, then we've got a problem. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic that you have a strategic mindset, Paul. You're one of the few people in the world that would, in fact, that's something that I want to discuss as part of risk management. So, showing the last video where I was, you know, speaking, that what I did there, I took 5 pictures, and I made it into a moving picture. And what I also did was I typed the actual words that I wanted so I don't make a mistake in grammar and exactly what I needed to say. And what I did is I combined 2 sentences, me talking ordinarily, combined that with the script, and boom, it made my speech. So that wasn't my speech. It's
Right.
my voice with the script. And I combined the two and made it into a deep fake. I deep fake myself basically. I cloned myself. So I could actually do a whole speech and give it to you guys. And it's so perfect. It's because of the advent of technology, I can do that. But
Right.
that's fun, but that's scary, right?
Very,
And that's the thing.
very
And this
scary.
is and this is where our own president BBM has deep fakes, and you now have to check, and people can be gullible enough to say, oh, this person she's saying, or Ramon Ang is saying I should invest in this, and he didn't say that. Oh,
Right.
and you know they are endorsing this product, so it must be true. So deepfake is becoming rampant to the extent that it's already causing major financial problems. And the funny thing about that, Paul, is, or Actually, it's not even funny. In June of 2024, Alan Turing, they have this Turing Institute, they do check. And by the way, there's an app called Defender that can check if it's fake or not. But that was pre-2024. As of June 2024, machines, those ones that are done elaborately, the machines, according to the Turing test, they can no longer tell if it's deepfake or not. So it boils down to, would this person really be selling a crypto that's unknown? And this is like our regulator. But so where do we now, what border are we crossing now in terms of managing risk?
That's and this is one of the challenges, or maybe it's a natural aspect of risk. Risk, I see it more as reactive. When I say reactive, something happens and then we have to manage that. I'm not saying it doesn't predict risk potential,
Ah,
but what I'm saying is it's not very good at doing that. Okay. So I'll give you an example, and we're talking about technology. This is a question I've been asking online, and the answers are lukewarm at best. It's getting better though. Sometime back, and this was even before COVID, the question I asked is, we're very good at figuring out what technology can do for us, but are we good at what technology is doing to us? Are we asking the right question?
exactly.
Okay. I said you have to be very careful here because, and then sorry, I'm skipping around a little bit. Recently, I read a very powerful question: is AI becoming more like us, or are we becoming more like AI? Which one is it? Okay. Now, when you look at the risk there, it's really huge, if you want to say. And I know we're getting a little bit off topic about the original risk, but this is, for me, this is risk in a very broad sense. Okay. And that's one risk that we have to look at. And I'm beginning to see more chatter on it, especially on LinkedIn, where I talk about it. It's becoming more prevalent, if you want to say. But given that, okay, and this is something, let's bring it down to a corporate case. And this is something that I share a lot. AI is great. The challenge is, for me, for corporations, is when to use it or not. It's not so much teaching it, because people will learn it anyway. Okay. So I said when to use it or not. And for me, that's a bigger question. A very simple example I can share is, I still remember when the whole, how do you call, CRM thing came out, and they started putting coaching online. It used to be I have to coach Ida, I'll talk to a person to person. They say, oh, cool. We can now do it on the ERP. Fantastic. Me as a manager, what I started doing was I just write my evaluation on the ERP and consider coaching done, which is not coaching. Okay. And so a lot of it got lost. Okay. So I said, that's just that case. But can you imagine with the potential of AI, if you're not figuring out how to use or when to use it, it becomes a real problem. Okay. And for me, that's a risk that all companies are facing, and they should be able to define it, but there's no guidance behind it. Okay. So go
I'm
ahead.
totally with you. I'm totally with you. And I love all of these analysis and the comments that you're mentioning. I want to hold down to a simple um, analogy of it. Uh, Sorry, I'm a visual person, so let me um, show you this. This is actually a slide by one of the best AI scientists in the Philippines, Dr. Erica. Um, and you know how AI in the beginning, and if you want to put in the muffin and the puppy, that's muffin, puppy,
Puppy
muffin.
muffin.
At the end, it would probably be 70% correct uh, in the beginning. So it will make mistakes, but with all the data, it would eventually can tell, oh, that's not an eye, that's a raisin, or that's a chocolate cookie. Therefore, it's a muffin. It would be able to detect that. So in terms of setting up an algorithm, humans, we see the muffins and the puppies, but if you're dealing with literally millions of this,
Oh,
it
yes.
would be so hard and it will take forever. But when it comes to AI and the technology, it starts with error, and then it corrects itself as the data progresses. And at the end of the day, it would be far, far better than humans. So back to your comment, and this is where I like this particular comment, technology shaped by humanity for humanity. Now there's a meaning to that, and may I expand further. Back to this, during the time that it's learning, there is what we call collateral damage. Oh, that's wrong. You ate a puppy instead of a muffin. I mean, if you're a machine, right? But eventually, it's like the human is the one making a mistake, and we're so accurate. So as far as the machine's concerned, um, so I'm gonna make it a little bit simpler. If you are in a business and you have this amazing that I don't have a visual on that one, and you have this amazing tree in front of you, 1,000-year-old tree, and you're making an assessment, should I build a building on this that will give me an ROI of 20%? No brainer with the AI, assuming that's actually assisting you. And by the way, a lot of students, board directors, and what have you, they're actually checking out whether that's the right decision. They would say, yeah, cut it, and you'll get a good ROI. But the collateral damage is the 1,000-year-old tree, which this is where while information is being gathered, number one, is it gathering the right information? Is it providing you enough information? Are you really going to cut the 1,000-year-old tree? But eventually it's machine learning. So eventually it's going to say, oh, you're not supposed to cut that. You got to consider because of ESG. But in between that time frame, many trees would be cut. This is nothing different from Tesla. In the beginning, it was hitting people. But now, you perfect it as you go along because it's machine learning. But can we afford the collateral damage? And
Are we
that's
willing to
where,
pay the price, in short?
exactly. So when it comes to
Okay.
risk management, of course, there is a no known. I'm not sure whether you heard of this. There's no known. So you know it, it's a risk, and therefore you can handle it. There's a known unknown.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, the most difficult one is the unknown unknown. So you don't
Right.
know that you didn't know, right? I
Right.
mean, if we're talking about November 2019, did you know there's going to be COVID and we're going to be closed? Of course not. How can you manage that risk? But in February, did you have an inkling that we're going to experience closure? Yes, you have an inkling. It's already a known, it's a known unknown. And therefore you
Mhm.
start planning, oh, I gotta gather alcohol. We may close. I'm gonna get
Right.
mask and what have you. So um, expanding in whatever risk it is, there has to be analytical thinking. If you face this, it's not, oh, I didn't know that, but it's what can you do? So it's the one is the reaction, as you said,
Mhm.
but if it's the first two, the known known and known unknown,
Mhm.
then you can anticipate and do something. So
Right.
we're kind of dividing the different types of risk in terms of categorizing it. So at this point, I hope I'm not too
Oh no,
philosophical.
it's actually it's something that we also do in learning. You start with
Yeah,
you don't know that you don't know. Okay.
yeah.
Then
Yes,
you know
yes,
that you don't know. Okay, it follows that kind of same sequence. But there are a
yes,
lot of things you said first. Okay, and I'll start with the quote you said. What is it? Technology for technology by humanity for humanity. I'll
yes.
ask you one question though. Does the quality of our existence as humans need technology? And I'll point to a very funny group known as the Amish, who have practically rejected all technology. I'm not saying they've rejected all of it. They still have the wheel, they still have a cart and buggy. And for me, they're doing fine. The price they pay is, well, the rules you have to follow. Okay. Now, do we really need all of this technology to live a good life? Or can we do without it? Okay, that's my first question. Then you mentioned another thing about an algorithm. For me, algorithms are great, but algorithms are based on whose morality? Algorithms decide, okay? Which comes to me to the other question about analytical thinking. Deciding on data, is that analytical thinking or seeing beyond the data? Which is which? Okay, because an algorithm is very good at deciding on the
I
data, which is
super
what
love your
AI is
question.
great at doing. Okay, but seeing beyond the data, that's not how do you call it? That's not it's not a decision. Okay, you don't just say it's just black and white. No, there's a gray area. Okay, and that's how I understand the analytical and critical thinking that companies are demanding today. Okay, so a lot of questions. I don't know if we even have
A lot
enough
of
time to do all
questions,
of
and
them,
I
but
cannot recall
okay.
all of them. So what was your first question again?
The first one is about technology for humanity, by
Okay.
humanity for humanity. I said, oh, can we do without it? Okay, go ahead. So,
Okay. Um, it's not it's not the technology, it's how we use the tool.
mhm,
So it could be a wallet. If you leave the wallet, would that wallet be returned to you? If you leave I'm talking about physical wallet.
but
If you leave your cell phone, will your cell phone be returned to you? Do we need technology? Do we not need technology? We all know that technology has helped drastically. For a major example country is India. India, because of the advent of open finance. Oh, I did not mention, I was part of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas Open Finance Committee
mhm,
transition group where we actually studied 15 different countries. One of them is India. And we're looking at open finance in India. Open finance in India, just go straight to the point, fraud reduced by 75%. 75. And that's because the real Ida Tiongson can be pinpointed because of all the data points leading to me, leading to you, Paul, leading to Dino.
mhm,
And because of that, they were able to pinpoint the fraudulent transactions. And majority part of it is because of technology. And that's just one of the many, many examples. It has helped people live better lives. You can now spend more time with your kids. People that are single mothers can do e-commerce at home. You know, it has a lot of pro-poor, automatic pro-poor, anti-poverty
mhm.
alleviation systems or technologies that has actually helped. And there's so many of them that it's not funny how technology has helped. But how do you use this technology? Whether you use it for good and bad, at the end of the day, it's the good, bad, and the ugly concept. And taking away human factor in the beginning is not good because what if you're not getting all correct data in the first place? What is this is being presented to you without knowing other data, and in the beginning the human will have to actually ascertain, do we have the right data, is this leading towards what the presenter is wanting us to analyze and decide on, instead of uh, looking at the overall picture. And that's what is missing in the beginning, the overall picture.
Right.
Sir, what are the follow-through questions again?
The other question was about the algorithm. Algorithm decides when analytical thinking goes beyond the decision. It has to look
Definitely.
beyond what's there. That was the other question that I had.
Yes. I Last Christmas, all the nieces, nephews, godchildren, what I gave was a chess set, a chess set. And there's a reason for that. The moms are saying, I think that's a boring gift. But what I'm trying to do is trying to get the younger generation to go into analytical thinking, to go into strategy thinking. If I move this, what will happen to this? And so on. I know the board games can be converted into machines and so on, but what is different today is they just can get the info. You move the pawn, you move the queen, and I'm not already thinking, I know I'm going to win because I have an AI assistant help. Of course, this is assuming that it's not a machine that you're fighting against. Is that correct? Now, I got to ask one more question, Paul. I'm a little bit afraid of those students today, example, medicine students. They have the access to all this information. And by the way, according to stats now, there are more cum laudes and summa cum laudes
Of course.
in schools, and the passing grade is actually higher. And because this is, let's call spade a spade, even if you try to restrict them from using generative AI and having an AI assistant or what have you, they will find a way. And there are other apps that you cannot even tell anyway. So, but the thing is, if you are going to be operated heart surgery between a doctor who's, say, 50-year-old and between a new graduate that could be summa cum laude, which would you rather choose to have you operated, or who will operate you? And this is where you may say the cum laude.
The funny one was the funny one there. The analogy that I read somewhere is: can you imagine if you walked into a hospital and they said, "Go diagnose yourself over there," and it's a machine. That's it. I go.
Oh, you'd be surprised. Some dermatology companies are actually already doing that. You'd go to the machine, it does all the biometric and does
Right.
the analysis already. And that's fine if they can provide information, but what if the assistant is not there when they're trying to operate on you, if you know what I mean? So I'm not.
Or if it's designed to sell you a product, that's even crazier.
Oh yes, and which happens a lot. Yes, it'll pop like e-commerce.
And the best solution is, and it's there. Okay.
Yeah. And you know what? I mean, again, let's call spade a spade. No? The malpractice in the stats in 2023, not deep malpractice, but giving you the wrong medicine in hospitals happens to be, apparently it's 23% before, and now it's highly improved because of the advent of technology. So they can zap you correctly, and this is actually the trick that and because of the analytics and the data, they hone down to the actual, sickness, and they have all this history. So that's fantastic. So don't get me wrong. Actually, probability-wise, you will survive better because of that. But I'm talking about the analogy part of it. If there is something out of the ordinary, out of the box, like the
maybe the
1,000-year-old tree.
big thing there is, and this is something I realized again having conversations somewhere on LinkedIn. I forgot with whom. Okay. And please, I'm not calling you of the right generation, okay? But if you go back and look back at your thesis, it probably is a piece of junk, okay?
Oh, definitely,
But
definitely.
but that's not the point. The point was to find out if you had the discipline to do it in the first place. Okay, that
Yes.
was the point. That was the point of the thesis. But today, what kind of discipline do I need if I can just, type a question into AI and I get my answer? That's not discipline. Okay, so if I look at a doctor, I don't mind him using AI, but he knows what he's doing in the first place. He's got his 50, 20, 30 years of practice behind him. He's not just out of school, so he knows what to do with AI. But if you don't know what to do with
That's the
AI,
best combination.
you,
Yes.
you might ask the wrong question or come to the wrong conclusion. Okay, and then what? Okay, all right.
I'm totally with you. If you ask AI, it's all about the prompt. Was your prompt correct? Did you ask the right question? And then if they give the wrong answers because there's a problem with your question. But did you know that
Right.
there's a problem with your question? So you need to expand that
Ah,
further. But the ones that
and
are
then
doing analytical thinking will keep asking, no, I think you missed this. What's the reference here? So you get deeper into the more correct answer. It's actually more,
but
people are being trained how to do prompts these
mhm,
days.
that simple question of I think you missed this. I need you to expound on that. That requires deep understanding of what you're talking about in the first place.
Correct.
If you don't
Yes.
have it, you'll miss it. Okay, so oh, this is a cool answer, and then you're happy. Okay, but it's interesting about you giving a chess set. That was perfect. Maybe I would have given a Scrabble set because how would you say
It's actually a three-tier board game. One of
the
them is
3D
Scrabble.
chess?
One of them is a chess. No, it's
Oh,
chess, Scrabble,
uh,
and then sorry, I've forgotten the other one. So it's three sets that they can play on. And you're right,
oh,
one of them is
nice,
Scrabble, and one of them is I
nice.
think Monopoly. But I like the
Monopoly.
chess.
Okay. And this is based on my experience because my wife suffered an illness where she got encephalitis. Okay, and the MRI, if you're not an expert, you won't see anything wrong with it, but the expert says there are a couple small holes that were burned into her brain. So we started doing some research how we could fix it, and lo and behold, there was this program called Brain HQ, which literally exercised your brain. Okay, and it actually worked because the next time we got an MRI, the doctor said parang nawala. Okay, in short,
Mm-mm.
the gaps were covered. But when you look at the exercises they were doing there, it is not nuclear physics. It's just
Mm.
basic stuff repeated over and over and over again until your brain wires itself. So I said, you're going to learn that way by repeating simple tasks. You're not going to learn by you know talking about astronomy right away. You have to do the simple tasks first. And AI is not good at doing that. Okay. It takes away all of that and does it itself and say, here. Okay. So I said, how are you supposed to learn, especially as a kid? You're not going to learn anything. Okay. So I
It's a
like that
deep
chess
dive to you
analogy.
versus an AI assistant. I think the future
Right.
is everyone's going to have AI assistant because the deep learning part, they will leave it to AI and just feed me information. And it's a whole new generation. It depends on
Right.
how they use it.
Right.
Should we accept it as that? I think we need to ensure that again, I'm back to the strategic and analytical
Right.
thinking. And if you have AI, I'm not. In fact, I'm totally for it. If I may say so, I use 5 different AI applications minimum um, in my daily life to be able to actually go on a holidays and do
Right.
stuff and still go to the gym and stuff like that. Without that, I'll be so stressed and I won't
Right.
be able to cope.
Right. Right. But you had the advantage of learning the right way early in your
Yes,
life.
we're lucky. Our
Okay.
generation's lucky.
In that sense, okay.
Totally
In that
with
sense.
you.
I'm enjoying this conversation so much. I forgot what my third question was. Okay, but let's see here. Let's see. Let's get it back on track. Okay. Um,
Perhaps we can go back to the risk and how to manage
yeah,
it now
yeah.
that we've
Let's thank you. Let's try to get to something maybe a little more practical. Okay, so let's say I'm a mid-sized company here in the Philippines. So a mid-sized company, maybe be about 1,000 people, if you want to say. No. Let's say I'm into retail. Okay. What are some of the biggest risks that I might be facing given that position?
this is a very realistic discussion. In fact, I'm going to be a speaker this Friday, and it's about the micro, small, medium enterprise. It's the retail industry feeling the pinch because of the advent
Mhm.
of e-commerce, because the market is not just local, it's global. And by the way, when it comes to retail, we're talking about tariffs and that sort of thing, which is an expanded
Oh,
version of another type of risk. So back to your question on the retail, 1,000. Perhaps the good part of technology is it's easier to manage HR, it's easier to manage your inventory, it's easier to already have financial statements, closing within a day or even less. I mean, people normally would get that 30 days after. It's easy to get a data in terms of what is saleable and what is not because you have such a huge database that example, Labubu, in case you know Labubu, right? It became a trend practically overnight, and it became a trend in Japan, domino effect, and there's a reason for that. Lisa of Blackpink, actually had it posted with Labubu, and boom, the market start picking it up, and the who's who started picking it up, and nearly every Tom, Dick, and Harry would want it. You, as a retail outlet, if you're selling it, you would know that that is the saleable one, and therefore I need to advance my order and bulk buy. So the decision and the profitability, in fact, there's statistics on that already. Those ones that have converted from pandemic to date, that converted into digital, did a digital transformation and using technology for good use, they have increased their sales by 200%. Wow. Versus those ones that have not. So good part of technology is that. Now, the other part of technology, should I keep the 1,000 employees now that I already have all of this, where you can have like a similar to an Amazon shop or some of the shops where you just have your cart and Zoom, and you don't need a cashier to do that. No one to bag it, and because you can actually calculate already three employees will not be needed for that particular technology alone. And if you sum up all the other technologies, will we be needing 1,000 employees? So that's actually the question of that. What do we do now in terms of risk management? It's good for our profitability, it's lesser employees. What will they do? And is that something that you need to worry? Is it something that it's not part of your worry? What strategies will you do now that these technologies are your competitors doing it and therefore can sell the product cheaper than you? How do we survive? So back to the Philippines on retail. Can we survive globally? Are we competitive enough to survive globally? Where are our strengths? Isn't it staff augmentation? Isn't it call centers, contact centers? Are these people going to be needed in the future? So where's the competitiveness of Philippine retail when there's e-commerce, China made, way cheaper? Previously they're saying, China made, not good quality. It's no longer the case. China technology, they can do cheaper and better. The best example, DeepSeek. Although DeepSeek is slowly rising, and I'm actually enjoying DeepSeek more. It's way cheaper, way cheaper in terms of the subscription, and it gives you extra. It gives you extra information. And because it's being used by billions in China and all of this data, when you're comparing response now, I'm looking at it and it's providing more information. Where are we in the Philippines? Where is our strength? Are we competing strong enough?
That's a question for me. That's an age-old question for the Philippines. Okay. I entered the workforce in '85 when the economy was an absolute disaster. Okay. And I was wondering, where are we worldwide, globally? Even then, and even now, I'm still a little lost. Okay.
We are good in soft skills, Paul. We are good in soft skills.
Let's rephrase that. Like, I have an issue with the term soft skills. Let's call them essential skills, because when you think about it, communication,
better.
Emotional intelligence, those are essential. Those are not, those are things you need to survive and thrive, period. Okay.
That's true.
It's and this is more a little of a sideline, because I work with a lot of companies that size when I train, and there's a general weakness. Although I haven't seen it, I believe it exists based on the way they're acting. They do produce reports, but they're not good with financial management. Okay, financial management is managing the money. Okay, and you're supposed to read the report and draw some conclusions from there, and they're not very good with that. Okay.
Okay. When you say they, sorry, who are they?
I'll just give you a microcosm of example. Let's say I'm a pharmacist. Okay, I graduated pharmacology, so I'm so excited. I put up my own little pharmacy. I do. I can see the money flows coming in pretty strong, so I go off and buy an Innova. Okay, 2 years later, I can't pay the Innova because something happened, blah, 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 and now I'm bankrupt. Okay, that's a financial management issue. That's not That's not accounting. Okay. It's how good is how I've never tried it and haven't seen anything, but how good is AI with financial management?
Oh, fantastic. I mean, Paul,
Okay, good.
I'm an investment banker,
All right.
and I think in the future we may not need investment bankers or for investment bankers, but let me qualify on that because in the beginning there would be collateral damage. Okay, so back to it. Assuming the data is correct, and it's always the case, assuming the data is correct and available, the analytical part when it comes to cash management is actually far better using technology, artificial intelligence for that matter.
Mhm.
It provides you better analogy and even provides you recommendation. It's actually quite amazing how a non-finance person can now appreciate
Cash
information on
flow.
finance. But it goes deeper than that. It goes deeper than that. I mean, back to the data. And some people would just transcribe it, just grab it, puts it
Right.
in, and that's it, leaves it there without doing the work. So if this is the case, and it's already you saying this is the information that you look for, it's how you react to that information. It's what is the more important thing. Because in the good old days, if we're the ones crunching it up, analyzing it, we already get information that we try to, okay, I need to improve on this. I need to do more collections. This is why I don't have sufficient cash and cash flow and what have you. Instead of it's providing you info and you're not reacting to it, then it's not the tool is correct, but the way you're handling it is not. It's actually your reaction to it.
Right.
Um, can I? It reminded me to
Please do. Yeah.
talk about this topic. So when you are actually discussing risk, you need to not all risk. Some of the risk you can ignore.
Yes.
You know, is it worthwhile being penalized? But you can gain more access. You know, that's something that you need to uh, you know check the policy of your company. So for assuming, I'm going to give an example. In terms of the risk, assuming you're a lending company and you're always having all of this past due ratio, non-performing, that's quite high. It's already above 10%. You're the owner. Should you sack the manager? That's one of the T's. Do you tolerate? You
Mhm.
only tolerate the risk because it's at a certain level that it's at, as the word itself, tolerable. Or should you treat it? Okay, maybe the manager is not a lending person. I'm gonna put a senior lending person to assist. So you're treating that.
Mm.
Or do you just terminate? No, 10%, no way. This person is it's not I'm not gonna be profitable because not correct. Or do you transfer the person, maybe that he's a marketing person, not a finance person. So when
Mm.
you're managing the risk, you need to now, it's your decision, your reaction after how you treat it. And it's called the 4 T's. Do you tolerate? Do you treat? Do you terminate? Do you transfer? You may want to set an example. And by the way, the EU on the using AI ethics is also using the 4 T's, and they call it um, minor, medium, high, and not tolerable. So it's actually the same in terms of concept of what is
Mhm.
acceptable risk and what is not acceptable risk. Just name me any risk, anything. Just pop one risk, and if we can just make an example of this.
Okay, going back to the case of retail. Okay, let's say I'm looking at my vendors. Okay, and let's say the vendor, for me, let's talk about ESG. Okay, it might be an ESG risk. Okay, let's talk about that. Let's put that in there. Let's say the vendor's
Sure.
from
Yeah.
China. He has
Okay.
no history
Okay.
of transactions with me. Okay, and he
Okay. The
has very
ESG risk
few.
is
Yes, go ahead.
employing below 15-year-old, or is that a ESG risk in terms of pollution, or
Environment.
sorry, what risk?
Let's talk about
Environment.
pollution. Okay,
Okay.
let's talk about pollution. And let's say so far he's only received very few reviews, although they're nice reviews, they're just very few. So if I look at that risk, what would I do?
Okay.
I
But
mean, how would I treat it?
are you already aware that the supplier is providing you products that are, at the end of the day, is hurting the environment? Are you aware of that?
No, I haven't
Okay.
figured it out yet. Okay.
All right. So there's really nothing much to discuss in terms of not having that data, but
Okay.
but because, I mean, let's call spade a spade, because it's China, and China apparently, and by the way, that this is no longer true, the main people are thinking of it, if China made, they don't care about the environment, they don't care about this and that. On the contrary, I find companies like the Alipay group, when it comes to governance,
Yeah.
when it comes to doing all the right things, they're actually far, far higher than other uh, companies and multinationals. Okay, so but having said that, because this is a company that's 1 or 2 year old company, what risk will you be facing by getting that supply? Is it going to be reputational in the future when you find out they're having environmental problem? Is it going to affect in the Philippine setting? Is it something that you're an advocate for environment? Is it something that, no, you know what? It's climate problem already. How sensitive are you for you to be able to manage it? So it's more of your sensitivity to it. Now, the risk side could be reputational risk. People now will not buy your product because they know that, oh, apparently you're selling rubber shoes that is actually damaging. And by the way, the newer generation, they are conscious of that. So are you doing it for environment's sake, or are you doing it because of profitability? So,
I have a very interesting comment about that because a lot of even the AI model, if you want to say, it's driven by what I would say a Western business model. When I say Western business model, we're chasing quarterly targets, we're chasing growth, we're chasing dominance. Okay, and if these are applied, it's not going to it'll go wrong somewhere eventually. I think. Okay, and I think in some cases today we can see it going wrong. Okay, in front of us, literally. Okay, but that's the
another good
predominant
discussion.
model. That's
Yeah.
the predominant model. Okay, we're not just to give you an example, when you look at GDP, that's a Western model, but Bhutan wants to measure happiness. That's a completely different model. Okay, so and at this point, really, maybe what we should be clear on is, uh, and the way I put it is who we are as an organization. Are you an organization of integrity? Are you an organization who cares about people? Are you an organization who cares about the environment?
Definitely.
Or are you chasing your quarterly goal? Are you looking at shareholder value? Or which one is it? Okay. And it would be nice if organizations had a little badge on them. I'm a shareholder value per company. I'm a, that would be nice. Okay. But, you know,
You know, the way the companies are selling themselves now is
oh, yeah.
more on lifestyle. It's more on what it can offer you, not so much as what you can do for us, but what companies can do for you. Let me, Paul, um, in I'm the one asking. In two sentences or two wish list, in say 10 years time, what would you like Philippines to be in? How would you want to vision Philippines?
Personally, I would really love to see, and I'll take this from a conversation that I had with my classmates from college. And my classmates in college are all politically connected, all of them. Okay. And we're having our get together. And she said, the Philippines is a poor country. I said, no, it's not. We are a wealthy nation. We are just mismanaged. Okay. And I said, what I wish is that we learn how to manage ourselves so much better. Okay. Because all our resources are here, period. We have
And
everything. Go
and
ahead.
when you
Yes.
vision Philippines, like you're actually looking at Philippines, what vision are you seeing? What's the nice wish list vision that you would want to see?
Typical of what the Philippines likes to sell. I'd love to see it more like, we're in a beach place where everything is relaxed.
Exactly.
It's not speed that we're worried about. We're more concerned about, being nice to, or how do you say, not nice to each other, but being humans to each other. Having discussions, having arguments, but then at the end of the day, you can still drink together. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Exactly.
That
And
kind of thing.
yeah, and this is actually the point that I'm trying to raise. So there's a statistics done, and this is by the UN and World Economic Forum, and they uh, ask C-level suite, what would you like the future to be? And the answers are, I would be walking, in the middle of the night, and I'm not scared. That's the future I want to be. I want to, relax and see beautiful places and preserved, walking in the beach and so on. I would want to see a world with zero poverty. No one is poor. No one's actually dying because of lack of medicine or lack of food. Those are the visions that people want to see. So I'm going to go back to the retail outlet of the 1,000 retail outlet. I kind of want to connect that. Um, this is where, if that is what, and by the way, that's 99% in terms of stats. The vision is more on the environment, more on the lifestyle, more on the peace, more on the order, more on the peaceful living, 99%. So if that is the need of the market, products are solutions to a problem. The beauty products are saleable because women fear not getting old. Why fast cars and stuff like that are actually popular with men because it shows more of success, and men fear failure, and so on. So what's the fear, and what is the want, and what is the solution? And there's you come up with a product that would provide that solution and addressing the fear, then you're going to be more saleable. And the fear of the future is doom and gloom. Doom and gloom. There's more crime, there's more corruption, and that's the fear. And therefore, what product can you sell in order to have this beautiful environment that you just mentioned? And that's where
You
you
know,
can make business out of.
the scary the I would say scary part about that is a lot of people come up with uh, medicine. What I mean by medicine, take a pill and it'll go away. That's not the solution. Okay, it's not. Okay, uh, just take a look at supplements. I have nothing against supplements. Nothing. Okay, they're good, but if you're not sleeping well, eating well, and exercising, why? What's the supplement? You know what I mean? Okay, and a lot of the things that I'm seeing today are the supplement. It's not a solution to sleeping better, eating better, and
Short term
exercising.
kasi we want a quick win.
Yeah, right.
We want to quickly instead of having our body
That's
um,
where that's where
heal
that's where I'm saying it's a very Western approach. It's let's do a quick win na lang, and then
itself.
let's do it that way, and that's
Mga
been
businesses
dominating our
din ganun eh, quick wins eh, instead of long
no, but
term.
that's been dominating the business environment since I don't know how long. Okay, I lost track. All right, uh, maybe that's the solution, but maybe I'd like to end with a quote because, like you, I do believe in a nice future. I do. But and I'll quote Antonio Gramsci. Okay. And he goes, the old world is dying, the new world struggles to be born. Now is the time of monsters. And we have to be careful of the monsters because a new world has to come out, but there are also a bunch of monsters running around. Okay. So,
I I have a comment on that, a counter comment on that. And it boils down to, if I have a couple of minutes more, if I may,
Sure. Yeah, please.
there's a social experiment done in Japan. About 30 grade 1 students at around about 11:30, they were offered a luscious strawberry shortcake, their favorite. 11:30, they're so hungry. The teacher said, don't touch the cake. I'm going to come back to you guys later on. Don't touch the cake. The teacher returned at 1 o'clock. Do you think anyone touched the cake?
In Japan, no. No one
Exactly.
touched the cake.
And that's a thing. I was hoping, in the Philippines, no. I'm hoping people would say that eventually. No, this is the thing. Because the first 9 years in Japan, they are trained more of the moral values. In all of this, when it comes to taking risk and doing businesses, and it boils down to you want to do business with people you trust. And you
Yes.
trust Japan because of this is a classic example. In fact, according to the World Bank, and I'm going to go back to the fraud from the beginning, that was our discussion. There's a fraud triangle. In order for the fraud to happen, there's going to be an ROP. You have to have the three. You rationalize, yeah, it's okay. Everyone's doing it. I'm just going to take it. It's only temporary. There's an opportunity. You are the ones opening the cajera, the cash, and you're the one issuing the checks. There's an opportunity for you, and the other one's pressure. Oh, my mom is sick. I need for tuition. I need to do this. ROP. This is the thing. If you take out the R in the equation, the likelihood of fraud will diminish substantially. Not necessarily eradicated, but diminish. So, by the way, this is a World Bank IFC slide. And with that fraud triangle, this is where you want to be that grade 1 student where you do not rationalize. It's in front of you. You can take it. And you're not going to die if you take it. You can take it. And the teacher would probably slap and it's okay, I've had it. But it's not the right thing to do. And this is where technology is a tool. Technology is going to help us. But at the end of the day, is it the right thing to do? You're leaving a wallet. Will that wallet be returned to you? Will you return the wallet? So it's always the right thing to do. And this is why I'm an advocate of governance, because governance is a major factor handling risk. And when we are talking about the 4 T's of the risk, it boils down to the governance part of it and the ethical part of it as well. And the ethical part is not yet there when it comes to especially generative AI
Oh, no, it's
in
not.
the beginning.
Mm-mm.
In the beginning. But it will have machine learning. It will eventually learn how we think, but it will take time. In the meantime, there will be collateral damage. And
Right, right.
and I just say that I dream of Philippines to be a country, a peaceful country where we can walk freely and not be afraid.
Right. Very true. Well, Ida, this has been a wonderful conversation. I'm sure we could continue talking probably for the whole day. Okay.
I enjoyed
And
talking to you, Paul. I also I
most
love the way
welcome.
you think because we're in the same level, the way we think.
It's fascinating when you and when you actually have this kind of conversation. And admittedly, for me, it's I don't have them very often. Okay. But it's always good to have them because it really, really expands my thinking, which is what I'm always eager to look forward to. And to all of our viewers, Ida, is there anything that you want to share with our viewers? Maybe you have an event or a talk that you'll be giving that you want to
Oh,
share
okay.
with us?
Why not? Why not? Um, those ones that are interested to learn more about technology and the governance and technology, I'm part of the Institute of Corporate Directors. You can actually check it out. We do have several events coming up. We have, I think, in May, sorry, let me see. That's in May 28th, May 29 and 30, and that's only online. Do check out the Institute of Corporate Directors. And the talk is about beyond algorithm, and we're talking about technology governance. Also,
That's what I just asked. To be on the algorithm.
yes. And coming up June 10 to June 14, the Blockchain Council of the Philippines, we're having the Philippine Blockchain Week. It's getting a lot of traction. There would normally 4,000 people that would attend that. I am an advocate for blockchain because blockchain for me is governance
Yep.
by design, because you can actually, because of the accountability, transparency, not necessarily a big fan of all the questionable cryptos, but certainly when it comes to the technology of blockchain, by the way, that can reduce fraud because of verifiable credentials, and do learn about it. Do check out Blockchain Council of the Philippines. And at the end of it, it's really, you need to learn and get to continue learning. And this is fantastic how this Leaders Edge is providing this platform uh, for people in terms of discussing all these different avenues um, and things, especially the important news, the important events. And I'm so happy when Dino asked if I can talk, and gladly. I'm really happy to be here, and I love our discussion, Paul. Thank you.
You're most welcome. And to our viewers, rest assured that we will supply all the links in case you missed anything that Ida had said. We'll supply all the links. But of course, please subscribe, hit those buttons, follow, like, hit all of those. It definitely helps what we're doing today. And as always, learning is a never ending journey with limitless vistas.